Part 1. A World of Masks. Have you ever looked someone in the eye and felt a profound disconnect? A strange and quiet chasm between the words they speak and the truth you sense? You see the smile, but you feel the judgment. You hear the compliment, but you detect the envy. You accept the handshake, but your spirit recoils from a cold, calculating touch, a chill spreading from your hand straight into your core. It's a deeply unsettling feeling, a physical tightening in your chest, a sudden tension in your shoulders as if your body is bracing for an impact your mind hasn't yet registered. It makes you question your own judgment. You ask yourself, am I imagining this? Am I being paranoid? And the world, with its relentless chorus of be positive and give people the benefit of the doubt, often convinces you that you are, that the fault lies in your perception, not in their intention. This is not paranoia. It is your intuition sounding an alarm. It is the part of you that still remembers how to see, trying to get a message through the noise of social conditioning. You are catching a glimpse behind the mask, and this is the fundamental reality of the world we inhabit. It's a grand stage, and on it, most people are not players, but actors. We are adorned in the costumes of our chosen roles, the suit of the confident professional, the smile of the agreeable friend. We recite lines learned from a societal script, a dialogue of pleasantries and expected responses, terrified of improvisation. Forgetting our lines and speaking an unrehearsed truth feels like the greatest risk of all. This performance, this role we believe is necessary for survival, was seen with breathtaking clarity by Friedrich Nietzsche, one of the most courageous and misunderstood doctors of the human soul. He was not the cynic that history often paints him to be. A cynic is a man who has lost hope. Nietzsche was a physician, a diagnostician who dared to look at the illnesses of our modern spirit without flinching, not to condemn us, but to show us the path to a cure. He saw that much of what we call virtue is often just fear in disguise, and what we call politeness is often a carefully constructed cage. But what if the tools to see behind these masks were not meant for attack? What if this profound vision, this ability to perceive the hidden currents in a conversation, was never intended to be a weapon? We live in an age that glorifies the idea of influence, of persuasion, of getting what you want. Books and courses promise to teach you how to win friends and control outcomes, often framing human interaction as a game to be won. But this is a hollow victory. It's a path that leads to a life of strategic emptiness, where every relationship is a transaction and every person is an object to be moved. The wisdom of a philosopher like Nietzsche offers a different path. What if the ultimate power wasn't the ability to control others, but the strength to ensure you are never controlled? What if this knowledge was designed not to make you a puppet master, but to make your own strings impossible to find? Today, we will open Nietzsche's medical bag. We will explore 3 of his most potent secrets for understanding the silent language that flows beneath the surface of all human interaction. But let me be absolutely clear about our purpose. We are not here to learn the dark arts of manipulation. We are here to study the anatomy of influence so that you can recognize it, understand it, and render it powerless over you. This is not a lesson in wielding power, but in becoming immune to its misuse. Consider this a masterclass in discernment, a self-defense manual for your soul. It is about reclaiming your own mental and emotional sovereignty so that you can navigate the world not with suspicion, but with a quiet, unshakable confidence in your ability to see the truth. It's about building a spirit so well grounded in reality that no lie, no matter how beautifully dressed, can ever find a home within you. But before we can learn to build this inner fortress, we must first understand the true and devastating price we pay for our blindness. It is a cost that is rarely spoken of, but it is paid every single day in the quiet currency of our lives. It is a cost far higher and far more intimate than you can possibly imagine. Part 2. The price of blindness. Think about the landscape of your past. Think of the ghosts of projects that started with fire and ended in ash. Think of the hollowed-out spaces where friendships and partnerships once stood, now just monuments to misplaced trust. How many times have you poured the finite, sacred resources of your life, your energy, your hope, your loyalty, into people who were fundamentally unworthy of the investment? How many opportunities have you lost, not to a grand dramatic failure, but to a slow, silent erosion of your spirit by someone you chose to see only the good in? This is the devastating price of our chosen blindness. The real danger in the world is rarely the declared enemy, the one who announces their hostility with a battle cry. The true threat is the quiet saboteur. It's the slow-acting poison administered in doses so small you barely notice, delivered with a smile and a reassuring touch. It's the passive aggression disguised as loving concern. I'm only saying this because I care about you, but are you sure you're ready for that? It is the envy masked as a compliment. I could never be as bold as you are, a statement that isn't meant to celebrate your courage, but to subtly frame it as recklessness. It's the manipulation wrapped in the warm blanket of care, making you feel guilty for setting boundaries, making you believe their needs are your responsibility. These are the emotional parasites. They drain your will to live, your belief in yourself, and your creative fire, not with a single violent act, but through 1,000 tiny, imperceptible withdrawals. You find yourself exhausted, confused, and filled with a vague sense of shame, yet you can't point to a single wound. That is their art. They are masters of the clean crime, the assassination of a spirit that leaves no fingerprints. Our culture, in its desperate and often childish pursuit of positivity, has given us a terrible piece of advice. It has told us to hope for the best in people, to give them the benefit of the doubt, to focus only on their light. But this is not wisdom. It is a gamble. It is closing your eyes and walking toward the edge of a cliff, hoping it is not there. But what if this isn't strength? What if true spiritual and emotional strength is the exact opposite? What if real power is found not in ignoring the potential for darkness in the human heart, but in having the courage to look directly at it, to understand its nature, and then from a place of unshakable clarity, to still choose the good, to still choose to trust, but to trust wisely, to still choose to love, but to love with discernment. This is not cynicism. Cynicism is the wound of a disappointed idealist. This is realism, and it is the bedrock of a soul that cannot be broken. This courage to see things as they are, unclouded by wishful thinking, is the first and most crucial lesson from a mind like Nietzsche's. He understood that our desire for a comfortable, pleasant reality is our greatest vulnerability. We prefer a beautiful lie to an inconvenient truth. We would rather believe the mask than acknowledge the emptiness behind it. But Nietzsche taught that all genuine growth, all authentic power, begins with a ruthless commitment to reality. It is the ability to look at a person, a situation, or even yourself and see it for what it truly is, with all its flaws, its hidden motives, and its inconvenient truths. This clarity is not a weapon to be used against others. It is a shield to protect your own soul. It is the foundation upon which you build a life that cannot be shaken by the deceptions or disappointments of the world. It is the first step out of the prison of naivety and into the open air of genuine freedom, and the first great key to unlocking this piercing sight, this ability to see the truth that vibrates just beneath the surface of words, lies hidden in the most overlooked, the most misunderstood, and the most powerful tool in all of human communication. Part 3. First Revelation. The Mirror of Values. We have been trained to listen to the wrong things. We focus on the grand declarations people make about themselves. We listen to the promises, the resumes, the carefully crafted stories they tell about their own character. I am a loyal friend. I value honesty above all else. I am a compassionate person. We take these statements as currency, but they are often counterfeit, printed in the desperate hope that if they are repeated enough, they will become true. But the truth of a soul is never found in its own self-proclamation. The truth is found in its worship. And so, here is the first secret, the simplest and most devastatingly effective key to unlocking the human heart. It is this: a person is not defined by what they say they value, but by what they spontaneously, instinctively, and consistently praise in others. Stop listening to how people describe themselves. It is a monologue rehearsed in front of a mirror. Instead, become an observer of their admiration. Listen for the shift in their voice, the spark in their eye, the moment of genuine, unscripted reverence. What is it that makes them lean forward and say, "Now that is real strength"? What act makes them whisper with awe, "That is true beauty"? What accomplishment do they point to and declare, "That is a life well lived"? In that moment of praise, you are not hearing an opinion. You are witnessing a prayer. You are being given a direct look at the altar of their innermost temple. The person, the idea, or the act that they hold up as the ultimate good, that is their North Star. That is their moral compass. When a person consistently praises the cleverness of the swindler who outsmarted the system, their sense is not justice. It is victory at any cost. When they speak with reverence of the celebrity who commands the attention of millions, their sense is not connection. It is status. When they are moved to tears by a quiet act of anonymous sacrifice, their sense is not power. It is love. Listen carefully. The world will tell you its secrets. People will hand you the blueprint to their soul, not in their confessions, but in their admiration. They are showing you the destination they are steering towards, consciously or not. But does this not feel cold? Isn't it profoundly judgmental to reduce the complexity of a human being to a single value system, to categorize them and place them in a box? This is the fear that keeps us blind. It is the voice of our conditioning that tells us discernment is a sin. But this is not about judgment. Judgment is an act of condemnation, a verdict delivered from a place of superiority. This is about alignment. It is an act of recognition, a quiet assessment made for the preservation of your own spirit. This is not about declaring someone good or bad. It is about understanding the fundamental physics of human connection. If a person's highest value is the acquisition of wealth through cunning, and your highest value is the creation of trust through integrity, you are not on the same path. You are not even in the same story. To build a life with them in business or in love is to invite inevitable heartbreak. It is to plant a seed in barren soil and then wonder why it will not grow. The goal is not to judge the soil. The goal is to understand it and to plant your precious seeds where they have a chance to flourish. The purpose of this piercing sight is simply to see where the needle of their inner compass points. The most important question you will ever ask after observing someone is not, "Are they a good person?" but a far more practical and vital one. Does their compass point in the same direction as mine? This is the first, most crucial filter for every relationship you will ever have. It is the question that, if asked honestly, will save you from 1,000 betrayals. Part 4. Second Revelation. The Language of Pain. We have learned to read the light in a person's soul by observing what they worship, but every light, as we know, casts a shadow. And it is in the dimensions of this shadow, in the places a person refuses to look, that their deepest truths are hidden. So now, we turn from the language of admiration to the language of pain, a dialect of the soul spoken not in praise but in condemnation. And here is the second great secret, the key to understanding that shadow, and it is a truth that will change the way you see human conflict forever. What we most violently condemn in others is almost always the unacknowledged and unhealed wound within ourselves. Pay attention, not to mild disagreements or intellectual critiques, but to the things that trigger a disproportionate, almost volcanic eruption of fury in a person. Observe what makes their voice tighten, their jaw clench, their entire being consumed with a white-hot contempt for the behavior of another. Nietzsche, the master diagnostician of the soul, understood this profoundly. He saw that our most venomous judgments are not objective reports on the world. They are confessions. They are involuntary cries from a part of our own spirit that we have locked away in a dungeon. When someone points a shaking, accusatory finger at another, they are often unconsciously describing the very ghost that haunts them. The rage is a fever, a symptom pointing to an infection hidden deep within. But let's pause here, because a simple and cynical thought might arise. Is this just hypocrisy? Is the person who condemns the arrogant man simply an arrogant man in disguise? No, it is something far deeper, far more tragic than simple hypocrisy. Hypocrisy is a conscious choice to deceive. This is an unconscious, agonizing cry for help. When you see someone consumed with an almost physical disgust for those they label attention seekers, ask yourself, is this not the voice of their own starved inner child, the part of them that was taught that their need to be seen was shameful and unworthy? Their rage is not truly directed at the other person. It is the fury of their own self-denial, projected outward. When you witness a person eaten alive by a bitter, relentless envy of another's success, understand that this poison is a distorted signal from their own soul. That envy is not a judgment on the successful person's worth. It is a testament to their own neglected potential. It is the cry of the greatness they were meant to build, now left to decay into resentment. Each obsessive condemnation is a map. It points with a shaking finger not at the other person, but at the empty spaces in their own lives. It reveals their most profound insecurities, their deepest longings, and the unmet needs that have turned sour within them. And this is precisely why this secret is not a weapon. It is not a tool for you to corner someone in their own contradiction, to say, "Aha, I see your wound. To do so would be a profound cruelty, an abuse of a sacred insight. The purpose of this knowledge is the opposite. It is to give you the capacity for a radical, almost divine compassion. It allows you to look past the ugliness of their judgment and see the pain that fuels it. It allows you to understand that their attack on another is really just a tragic, misguided attempt to quiet their own inner demons. But more importantly, it forces us to turn that piercing gaze inward and ask the bravest question of all. What do I condemn? What is the flaw in others that I cannot tolerate? What is the sin I am quickest to judge? Look there, look deeply and without flinching, for in the heart of your own intolerance, you will find the blueprint for your own healing. You will find the very parts of yourself that are begging for your attention, for your acceptance, and for your grace. This path of self-knowledge, of understanding our own shadows, is not just about healing. Part 5, the direction of power. We have walked through the temple of a person's soul, observing what exactly they worship and the demons they condemn. But we have not yet spoken of the fire that burns at its altar. We have not looked at the raw, primal energy that animates the entire structure. This brings us to the third and final secret, the most potent, the most dangerous, and the most profoundly misunderstood idea Friedrich Nietzsche ever gave to the world. It is the master key that unlocks everything else. It is the concept of the will to power. Now stop, breathe, and let go of every single image that phrase has just conjured in your mind. Forget the tyrants, the dictators, the ruthless executives clawing their way to the top. That is a child's understanding, a vulgar and profane interpretation of a sacred truth. The power Nietzsche spoke of was not the power to break others, but the power to build oneself. The will to power is not a lust for domination. It is the universe's own heartbeat echoing within every living thing. It is the inextinguishable life force, the divine imperative that pushes a single, fragile flower through a slab of cold concrete to reach for the sun. It is the silent, relentless force that drives a composer to wrestle chaos into a symphony, an architect to raise a cathedral from dust, and a soul to strive for a connection with the eternal. It is the fundamental drive of all life to grow, to expand, to overcome obstacles, and to express its fullest, most beautiful potential. It is not ambition, it is destiny. But this immediately raises a terrifying question. If this burning, expansive drive exists within everyone, doesn't that inevitably turn the world into a battlefield? A relentless, zero-sum war of competing wills where one person's growth must come at the expense of another's? This is the fear that paralyzes us. It is the lie that convinces us to keep our own inner fire small, lest it burn others. But the fire itself is not good or evil, it is simply fire. The water in a river is not good or evil, it is simply a current. The critical question is never if a person possesses this power. Everyone does. The only question that has ever mattered is this: in which direction is their current flowing? This is the final and most revealing test. When you observe a person, look past their words, past their values, past their wounds. Watch the flow of their energy. Where does their life force go? Does it flow upwards and outwards in a current of creation? These are the people who build. They build businesses, they build families, they build beautiful things. They build up the people around them. Their power manifests as encouragement, as discipline, as the desire to bring order from chaos and to leave every person and every situation better than they found it. To be in their presence is to feel your own potential stirred, to feel more capable, more alive. Their power is generative. It creates more life. Or does their energy flow downwards and inwards in a spiral of destruction? These are the people who assert their existence not by what they can create, but by what they can control, diminish, or dismantle. Their power is expressed through gossip that tears down another's reputation, through criticism that stifles another's creativity, through a need to be right that drains the life out of every conversation. They feel bigger only when they can make someone else feel smaller. Their presence is a tax on the spirit of everyone around them. Their power is parasitic. It feeds on the life force of others. Look, and you will see. You are no longer just reading a person's character. You are witnessing the fundamental orientation of their spirit. You are seeing whether their soul is on a journey toward the light, toward growth, complexity, and love, or on a slow, tragic descent into the void, into resentment, chaos, and nothingness. This is the ultimate discernment. It is the ability to see not just who a person is now, but the direction in which their entire being is aimed. And with this sight, you are no longer a victim of the currents of the world. You become a navigator, capable of choosing which currents to join, which to avoid, and most importantly, how to consciously and deliberately direct your own. Part 6. From Insight to Wisdom. So, we have the 3 keys, the 3 sacred instruments for seeing the world as it is. The first is the mirror of values, showing you the values a person worships through the simple act of what they praise. The second is the language of pain, revealing their deepest wounds not in their tears, but in the venom of their judgment. And the third, the most fundamental of all, is the direction of power, the invisible current of their soul, which tells you not who they are, but what they are in the process of becoming, a creator or a destroyer. But now that you hold these keys, you stand at a profound and dangerous crossroads. And you must understand this with every fiber of your being. This knowledge is not a weapon. To use it as one, to go out into the world and use this sight to expose, to wound, to gain a petty advantage, is to profane a sacred tool. It is to take the surgeon's scalpel and use it as a back-alley knife. The purpose of a scalpel is not to harm, but to heal. It is for making precise, life-saving cuts, for separating the healthy tissue from the diseased, for bringing light and air into places that have grown dark and infected, and that is its true and only purpose in your life. Use it to perform surgery on your own world. Use it to build a life of profound and unshakable integrity. When you choose a business partner, a friend, or the person with whom you will build a family, look past the charming words and into their mirror of values. See if their values are compatible with yours. Use this sight to choose a circle that will build you up, not one that will slowly and silently drain the life from your veins. Use the language of pain not to condemn, but to understand. When you feel the sting of an unfair judgment, use this insight to see the hidden wound it comes from. And in that moment, you will find the freedom not to retaliate, but to simply step away unharmed. Use the direction of power to feel with immediate certainty who to walk with and who to walk away from. This is how you protect the sacred garden of your life, not by building higher walls, but by becoming a wiser gardener. But now that you have this power to see, now that the masks of the world have begun to seem transparent to you, what is the single most important thing you can do? What is the first, most terrifying, and most necessary door you must unlock. It is your own. You must turn this blinding floodlight around. You must take these 3 keys and walk back into the temple of your own soul and have the courage to see what is truly there. The greatest journey you will ever undertake is not the exploration of others, but the excavation of yourself. So ask, what do you spontaneously praise when your guard is down and your heart speaks freely? What victory, what character, what idea makes you say that that is what matters? Look at it without judgment. That is your North Star. Are you truly walking toward it? And what do you condemn with a heat that frightens even yourself? What flaw in another person feels like a personal insult, a crime against nature itself? Look there. Do not flinch. Deep in the heart of that intolerance, you will find a part of your own soul that is starving, a wound that has never been cleaned, a ghost you have refused to name. That is where your own healing must begin. And finally, with ruthless honesty, you must ask yourself, in which direction does my power flow? Am I a creator or a critic? Does my energy add to the life in a room, or does it subtract from it? When people leave my presence, do they feel more expansive, more capable, more seen? Or do they feel smaller, more tired, and vaguely ashamed? This is the ultimate audit of your spirit. The answer will tell you everything you need to know about the trajectory of your life. This is the path. This is the great work. To use this profound insight not just to navigate the world of others, but to become the master of your own. This is how you transform cleverness into wisdom. This is how you build a character so solid that the deceptions of the world can find no crack to enter.